Good evening and welcome to VI Voices. I'm Emile Henderson III along with Clint Ferris, Boy McFarlane, and Yoki Hanley. Tonight we continue our election coverage as we interview some aspirants for the 31st Legislature of the Virgin Islands who are seeking the Democratic Party nomination, which will be the primaries on August 2nd. And so we're going to be interviewing them so you can get a little bit more information on who they are and what their positions are on the specific issues that are before us. But before we start with that, we'll begin with our hot topics. First, the shooting spree in St. Thomas. As we saw in the newspaper, that we're talking about various shootings that occurred in St. Thomas over the weekend. One where one man was actually killed in front of, I believe, his children at some point, and another shooting over in or is that the same shooting at Pokey Point? It's midday.
And there was a drive-by.
Another drive-by.
I think it was three separate.
Yeah, I believe so.
Some shootings. What are your thoughts on? I mean, I know our thoughts, but I mean, how is this becoming so commonplace that it's not on the front page of the Daily News?
It's being commonplace because it's not being accurately addressed by the government. It's not being accurately addressed. One, because of the influx of weapons here, and nobody addressing the influx of weapons here. I'm not seeing anybody that's locally, like the question that was asked last week regarding guns coming in. What's being done about that? Nobody addressing that issue. And also about the condition of our people and the condition of the mind state. What make I think is okay for me to go and take out my brother? What make I think is okay for me to see you and don't see myself in you and just come and arbitrarily shoot you like that? But what's going on with us?
There's no regard for human life.
And condolences to the families, especially to that young man who lost his life. That's ridiculous for somebody to take their life in front of their children. As a father, and I know how that could be, how traumatic that could be.
And one of the children were actually injured. They were both injured. One was shot in the hand and the other with the glass
from the
shattering.
Right. But that's, if you think about it, is commonplace. Crime has been commonplace in the Virgin Islands for the past 8 years. Let's say that. You have seen it. No, but let's talk about the increase in gun violence has been
some of the highest rates have been during the
murder rates have been high. If you think about this administration, they have had record murder rates during the tenure of this administration. And from the time this year opened up, St. Thomas has been rife with gun violence and crime. And again, it's been somewhat minimized because, and if this was in St. Croix, we'd have been hearing it. It's been all over the place, and we'd have been being vilified in the media, and people have been scampering around to have meetings and been talking about what's going on. I'm not seeing any marshalling of resources to address what's taking place in St. Thomas.
And you probably won't see any.
Carnival came, you heard it as part of a big public service ad. Carnival went. Where's the attention to crime prevention?
Even during the carnival season, there was a whole bunch of crime. Shootings all in the village. I mean, all in a 3-day period.
But Emile, remember there was public service announcement that says, rain don't stop the carnival, but gun violence will.
Right.
You heard that all throughout the month of April, the first week of May. I haven't heard any of that since. Where's the attention by the police department and this administration to address crime? And to go not just talk about we're going to prevent crime from happening in certain areas, but talking about the root causes and then start to work at those root causes.
What's the root cause?
I mean, we know there's the economic reasons. There's also parental
lack of education.
All of those things, lack of opportunity, all of those things contribute to the crime that we presently have. And we need to start to pay full attention to those things.
As somebody who has personally experienced the loss of a loved one from gun violence, I can attest to the lack of empathy that the VIPD shows and their unwillingness to even try and solve certain cases. Because you have families here, 10 years and counting, can hear a peep out of who murdered their loved ones. You have families that are torn apart, and it's more than just saying that it's economic or whatnot. You have some, as I call them, devils walking around in human skin. That for no other reason, just going around and saying, you know what, you don't deserve to live today, so you shall die.
Well, you know what, we're going to have some people who are calling on tonight who are going to be here tonight to talk to them about their bid for the 31st Legislature of the Virgin Islands, and we'll ask them some of those questions and what their plans are for that. And when we return, we'll have Mr. Collin Hodge back in a moment. And welcome back to VI Voices. We have with us Mr. Collin Hodge, who is seeking a seat in the 31st Legislature of the Virgin Islands, but first, who has to go through the Democratic primary as he seeks the nomination of the Democratic Party to the 31st Legislature of the Virgin Islands. Welcome, Mr. Hodge.
Good evening.
Good evening. And this is your first, okay, don't speak like boy, you have to speak a little louder. This is, I'll tell you the joke during the break. This is your first time on VI Voices. You have not been here before, but I hope you've seen the show before.
I've never seen the show before.
Okay, then we'll be even harder on you now because you haven't. So please let our audience who don't know who you are, I don't see why anybody would not know who you are, but in the event that they don't, who you are, and let us know why you're running for Senate.
Good evening. It's been about 25 years since I became here the past year, and I started UVI the year before. No intention of ever, running for politics over the last 25 years of my college, post-college, my 22 years in business, almost 2 decades as a community activist, being actively involved. But I really think it's been a challenging decade, I will dare to say. I think that watching and knowing what's going on regionally and globally, and watching what has happened in the last, I would dare to say, 18 months in the 30th and the 29th and the 28th, and knowing what has transpired in the region and knowing what's going on globally and nationally, and knowing the physical downturn that St. Croix has in terms of our GDP, in terms of the exodus of, I would dare to say, about 10 to 15,000 people, and predominantly middle class in the last year or so. There is no doubt that the conversation that I see going on in our 30th legislation cannot be repeated in the 31st. The agenda topic that is being had, whether it's at the executive level, more importantly at the legislative level, cannot be repeated. As a person that currently now owns 3 businesses, that is actively paying taxes and employing numerous employees, and actually the owner of several nonprofit entities, and seeing and knowing what happens with all of those entities, knowing what's going on now, and having a clear understanding, I think that this conversation that I'm going to bring until August 2nd and hopefully beyond is one that is necessary. Whether it's myself or someone else or a group of other people that decide to take up my agenda. If the 31st legislature doesn't have a private sector agenda and doesn't have an understanding of the global economy and doesn't have an understanding of what's going on regionally, and make policies that are necessary to really stabilize this economy and turn things around, there is no doubt we're going to continue to have the exodus of the middle class.
Now let me ask it, why you? Why should anybody vote for you in this election?
Okay, well, clarification, my name is Collin Hodge. Okay, I have a bachelor's degree in business and a minor in business management. I've owned my home-based company, which is the cornerstone of all my other companies, Stepping Up Promotion, DBA, Massive Management and Consultation. Now the current owner of Subway Orange Grove and Martini's Nightclub and Lounge in Christiansted. The brainchild behind A Taste of St. Croix and numerous other nonprofits throughout St. Croix. 100% knowledgeable of the different demographics on St. Croix. I think I'm pretty cognizant as to the direction that St. Croix can go. Pretty comfortable and educated about the industries that exist here, the one that can exist. My professional background, straight out of college, not including my home and my businesses that was started back then, but I landed a corporate position in Trelix Pharmaceutical right out of college, and it exposed me to the way corporate America really run. And I will dare to say, as senior planner there for the 3 years that I was there, it opened my eye and gave me the foundation that has laid a career that includes running Lerone's office, that still has procedures and policy that I implemented almost 15 years ago, as marketing and sales consultant at JKC Communication until 2.5 years ago. Definitely created an environment that I will dare to say the employees that I led and the policies that I created and the environment that I led, the department that I led, I would dare to say I produced then and still producing things after me leaving.
Mr. Hodge, excuse me, dear. You mentioned.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned one of the major themes of the conversation you need to have with the people is a private sector agenda. I would say for the past, for so long, we have been having a private sector agenda. If you think about the Diageo, the cruise and rum deals, and all those other things, it has been a private sector agenda that the Chamber of Commerce and maybe one of those groups that you have belonged to have been advancing. And you mentioned the working class, what and the middle class. What ideas are you going to be putting forward to make sure we grow the working class and the men and women in this community make up the working class can actually want to stay here and don't flee on the Virgin Islands?
Listen, we have had several public-private sector partnerships over the last 5 years. Some of them have been good, some of them have been bad. I will dare to say, at the end of the day, the Diageo deal will be one of the best deals that the VI would have signed in there, man. The Home Depot, terrible deal.
Wait, hold on a minute. Let's go back. How about the Diageo? What about the Diageo deal?
Listen,
will we, wait. What about the Diageo deal will we find would have been the best deal?
Listen,
what the Virgin has had?
I told you all I worked straight out of college at Prelix Pharmaceutical. In 1998, I renewed the 30-year certificate for one of the first EDC companies on St. Croix called Prelix Pharmaceutical. If we understood the incentives and the benefit that the Virgin Islands law have and understand them and really know to levelize ourselves in the region and in the world, we could do a lot more with our tax benefit and our incentive program. There is no doubt, I am not here to say that the Diageo deal has everything that is good. The molasses deal is still out there. The molasses terms of the deal is one of those aspects that I can't say will be good or bad. That's one term. That's one term in the language that we have in the agreement. My friends, 40 employees is what Diageo commit to having. They probably don't have that all the time. But guess what? The type of monies that investment are going to give us, and I have a drink bet every year on that because I'm still seeing the return beginning to come back to the VI coffers. And that type of thing.
I'm not quite sure how the coffers are necessarily growing at this point when we're giving away so much of it. Here is my concern.
The reality is, right? The reality
Here's
is.
my concern about it. My concern about it is, and I'm speaking as a lawyer. I'm not speaking as just. When I look at the Diageo deal, if I represented Diageo, that's exactly the kind of deal that I would have said and I would have done.
Okay.
If I represent the people of the Virgin Islands, that is not the kind of deal that I would have told the government, this is what I think you need to enter into.
All right, now I'm speaking as the businessman, the marketer, and the person that knows about marketing. Diageo, one of the biggest assets that Diageo is, and that we're not even taking advantage of, is the marketing. One of the biggest marketers and sales companies and liquor distribution company in the world. They're the largest in the world. They're the third largest in the United States. They control Quavo, and I could list the numerous amount of entities that Diageo owns the right to distribute. We have made Diageo into an enemy that we have not even taken on the added value that Diageo brings. There is no doubt. I say again, at the end of the day, Diageo will be a good deal when you compare the pros and the cons. We still see the $107 million coming back to our coffers. I'm here to say again, it's the first time type of deal, and as you know, first time type of deals, we're going to make mistakes. I am not here to say that there aren't flaws in there. But when you weigh the good and the bad, which is where you're doing business, Diageo at the end of the day will be a good thing.
So tell me, what are you going to do? You get elected, right? What are you going to do then to create a better environment? Because we got Diageo, we got all these things, and then right afterwards, we had 2,500 people removed from the public sector. We had all these people lost their jobs. We have really a separation even more now where we don't really have a middle class. Tell me what your plan is going to be so that we can follow. Because
you sound like you're there on my team, you know. You sound like you're there on my team. You sound just like me.
I just want
because I agree with you.
What is your plan?
I agree with you so fully.
Bring that back in.
I agree with you so fully. Listen, St. Croix right now is shut down to the rest of the world. Literally, I use that cliche, but I use it seriously. I have friends that came into the Virgin Islands in the last 2 months, families, and instead of coming to St. Croix, because it was 8-9 of them, they went to St. Thomas. Because it was so cheap to bring their family in, coming for a week and stay 5 days in St. Thomas, come to see the family, fly back to St. Thomas and leave. These are actual reality check. The fact that it is so expensive to leave St. Croix to come to St. Croix because we have 1 major flight coming to St. Croix and 3 minor seaborne flights connecting us to the rest of the world.
Right.
You know what that means? That means we are shut out to traveling for tourists. We are shut out ourselves from doing what we want to do comfortably. But more importantly, as an investor, after the second visit, I am no longer looking at St. Croix. Bottom line is we need room development for St. Croix. unless we increase the room amounts, which we have about 800 now, I would dare to say to about 2,000, 3,000 rooms.
But what I want to hear, right?
How am I do that?
Right, because everybody knows that's what we need to do. So I want tell me and tell the audience how you're going to do it. That's what I need to
it's not
know.
a carbon copy of
Listen,
what says.
I was gonna give you a little.
No. Listen.
Okay, I have a
People are
proposal.
listening to
I have a
you.
proposal called what is called the St. Croix Hotel Room Development
Okay.
and Beautification Initiative.
Okay.
It's a 2 to 4 year point plan.
Okay.
$45 million investment. Obviously, I didn't realize we could have gone to the bond market. When I see the governor asked to go to the bond market 3 weeks ago, I was shocked because I was like, okay, let's go to the bond market.
Isn't that his favorite place to go?
So I had it designed over the course of 3 years to reallocate $15 million a year to come up with $45 million.
Okay.
1,000 hotel room as follows. And this has to be done just like how Jamaica did it in 1999, just like how Aruba did it in 2000, just like how Puerto Rico did it in the 70s and 80s. The government actually invested in the room development of its infrastructure.
Okay.
And then they, of course, partner with other room brands to run. Grenada, by the way, is in process of adding 500 hotel rooms, and they're doing the investment.
Okay.
I'm saying that we're going to have to negotiate with our St. Thomas counterparts because we are not going to sit back and wait for Paul Golden, who's been on the horizon for 14 years, the Indians for 6, and Robin Bay up there for 8. The reality is the world economy fell 6 years ago. Nobody want to borrow money, nobody lending money. And because of the world economy fell, you have hotels like crazy available in the region. So no banks lending money. So we know we need rooms. We need to build our own rooms. If this was St. Thomas would have been making the investment. And this is what will happen. I'm suggesting that we take 2 to 3 of our local government-owned properties. The first one being the one at the airport.
Yes.
125 hotel room, $15 million investment, Marriott Courtyard or similar brand.
Right.
That's a 10% increase right away, an 18-month timeline.
Okay.
The second one, I will let the island decide and which other government property, but it's a $10 million investment, 200 to 225 rooms in a matter of 36 months. The other $20 million, an entity called the government, and you know what, we have a lot of boards entities. In 5 years ago, we've been 2009, Obama created an entity which was together for about 36 months. And if you remember, run by Emmett Smelt, the former CEO of GE, to control the billions of dollars that he wanted to fund through the the stimulus program. Okay? Now, this is a similar idea that I have. $30 million funded by an entity created by law that stands, I would like it to be there for more than 2 years, that transcends beyond a certain legislature, that is there to fast track capital investment, to manage the same $20 million we're talking about, but to give it to us.
Okay.
Local communities to do what Anguilla did 7 years ago, build small inns and bed and breakfast throughout the island. Moonraker Hotel sitting down there. I would like to see Gertrude's restaurant break up in half and add 10 nice little rooms and make the restaurant smaller. Beautiful. That's my partner.
Okay.
But I'm just showing you all the vision.
Let me ask you a question. Let me get in there.
You talk about GDP, right? You spoke about GDP earlier, and you said we have one, or we had one. That's what you said.
I mean, we're going to have that GDP.
Well, what's our GDP? What's our GDP?
I mean, the gross domestic product.
Right.
I mean, you know what? It goes up and it goes down.
What is it?
What is the amount right now?
What is our gross domestic product?
The amount of the gross domestic
What
product?
is it? What do
No,
we have?
the thing.
The thing. What the thing that
Well,
we
I
have
mean,
as GDP?
it's usually everything before you subtract your export. So we don't have anything going out. We don't have Hovensa. Hovensa is sending nothing out. So we really can't. It's kind of hard to figure out what it is right now. But I would dare to say it's probably less.
We've had one.
We've always had one.
Which is what?
Well, it's usually under $1 billion. It's usually somewhere between 800 and. It's usually between 800.
I'm talking about the product itself. Or not?
Yeah, the gross domestic product is the total income that our before exports.
What's the product
So
that we're
would you
selling?
say that our product that we used to sell out was
What's the
oil?
product?
No. You're using the wrong word. You're using the wrong word, my brother.
I'm using your word. You said
The
GDP.
gross domestic product is the total amount that our territory makes before you export. So let's make sure we're talking the same language, my friend.
Okay, I'm speaking about the product
The
itself.
gross domestic product is the
Right.
total sum, my friend.
Right.
The national product would be after you separate the export.
So
Let's talk the same language, my friend.
Okay, so
But
no, but honestly, the question he's asking, I think Boyd is asking, in terms of
What is
our
it that we're exporting?
protein, what do we export?
What is
What is the
the
product
product
that we
Well, you
produce
see,
in
well,
the country?
well, you see, that is not the question that should be asked.
Correct.
The gross
Why not?
domestic product is not the question.
What's the question?
If you're asking me what do we export, do we have a product that we export? That is not the question, my friend.
Okay.
Ask me what do we export? Then that's a different question. It's
What
not
do we
the gross
export?
domestic product.
Okay.
Well, we used to export oil, and I would dare to say we have a very, very viable rum industry.
Who's we?
The Virgin Islands. I mean, you may say St. Croix, but we are one.
Okay.
We are one.
I know
Right,
that.
I'll let you-
Because St. Thomas right now saying that they have the election win, because we lost 10,000 people in the last year,
My friend, I want to know who is we. And
The
what
Virgin
product-
Islands.
and what products do we have, and what products are we
So you don't
exporting?
think that? Wait a minute. So you don't think that as the Virgin Islands that we are one exporting oil and dare to say
We ain't exporting nothing, is my point. The people.
Yeah.
What we exporting, what's our product? Who benefiting? Who is the
Listen, my
corporation?
friend, I'm talking as an island. I'm talking as an island. As an island,
I'm
I think
talking-
we
I'm talking as- I'm
exporting
talking-
rum and we're exporting oil, and we have a good tourist product that many people can sell.
Here's what I think is happening between the two of you. He's basically asking you as,
What do we export as people, as locals,
the
as locals,
local
yeah.
people, and you're answering the question of the companies and what they're exporting. And
He don't say he's a businessman.
Right, but I'm saying.
But my,
he's
but,
saying that
but
he's
my friend, I'm talking as an island. You don't take as an
Right.
island
But
that
let's-
we collectively export and
As a territory, correct?
Yes.
As a territory.
yes. So I assume
Right.
that's what my brother asking me.
Correct.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Here's what I want to ask you, and we have a phone like 4 minutes,
I need to
right?
ask
Here, what I
this
want to ask you this question
question.
and get this
Jeez.
quickly. Is it your marijuana question?
It's something else.
Well,
It ain't my
Right,
marijuana.
go
okay.
let Yoki go.
Okay, go
Please,
ahead.
I want to hear the question. Let me go. Let me go.
You said before with hotel rooms and so forth, right? And I made the comment of it not being a carbon copy of St. Thomas.
No.
I think first what we need to be able to determine is the kind of visitors we want. Do we want people who have champagne taste and beer budgets?
Okay.
Or who can afford the champagne?
I mean, these
Because-
are all-
hold on.
Very
Because
good
you're
question.
talking about bringing in all these thousands of rooms, and to me that's like budget hotels. So how much money are those people going to spend? And then you're talking about, on the flip side, bread and breakfast. Bread and breakfasts cater to a different type of
Okay,
people.
ma'am, let me say this, and I say this without any apology. I have 29 years of business in the hotel and hospitality industry. Do not be fooled of the value of rooms and hotels and the value of the tourist dollar. It's the base industry.
I'm not devaluing it. I'm just saying
So-
that we need to determine the type of
Listen,
tourists
you
that
know-
we have come here.
you-
Because
you-
I could tell you for a
you
fact
know what,
that
ma'am?
within Frederickstead that we have a lot of people who come here with monies. And they don't stay at Carambola or anywhere else, they stay at the bed and breakfast. So I'm going to say again.
So is that a
we're
good
talking-
thing?
Yes, because they
Okay.
have the money coming in. So that's
Okay.
what I'm saying. If you're talking bed and breakfast, you're hitting a different economic, financial level of people as opposed to these big hotel rooms with 1,000
Okay.
plus rooms.
The
So
re-
again,
you know the
what
reason
are
why
types?
I decided that this is the key initiative, because number one, it empowers our own. We're talking about developing our locally owned properties, which most of them cannot be. We don't have the money to do so right now. And until we understand that, until we build room capacity and availability, the price of coming to St. Croix remains the way it is right now. No investor coming to St. Croix and look at St. Croix right now and are going to be attracted to coming to St. Croix. We've got to understand, when you land off of a plane or a cruise ship and you going to St. Croix, St. Thomas, Antigua, Aruba, and everybody else, and whether you come off of and we got to understand, people come off of a cruise ship to visit, but a lot of them are millionaires and billionaires, and they see opportunity, and people know the environment that makes money. And when you come off of a plane and or a cruise ship, you know the environment that fosters making money, getting back a return. And that's what business people think about. And when you come into St. Croix, and when after 2 travels, you realize every minute your flight down from 1,000 to 2,000 to 1,500, or you can't get a flight. That is a constraint to business.
But guess what? A lot of these people are coming in. They did a charter, But keep making the money, bringing them in. So
You know
they
what?
ain't
I am not going to
concerned
say
about-
that you have that elite that's there, but we want to make it open up for everyone.
But all I'm saying is that we need to determine the type of money we wish to come in.
Supply and
Again, I'm
demand
going to
dictates
say,
that,
not
man.
all the time, because take every dollar we need. Take every dollar we should chase.
Listen,
But
I
here's
have
what
to
it is.
determine
I'm actually
the
glad you
capability.
have a plan, because what's important
Let me
for
get to
me
begin the
is
plan.
what is important for me.
You got time, you got
Yeah,
time.
what's important for me is that you have a plan. People continue to come on this show and tell us about all the issues and all the problems, but they don't tell us this is how I'm going to solve it.
That's what I'm wanting to know.
While
think
there
I'm
may
tired
be
of hearing them too,
while there may be
Serious?
some who
I'm losing my
may
money
understand
every
the
day.
other stuff, at least you have a plan. But I want to, in the time we're running out, I want to get to some few quick things.
Okay.
One, I'm surprised she didn't ask it.
Oh, no, ask it. So if you want to go ahead, I wanted to ask.
Do you support decriminalization or legalization of marijuana?
I support a triple level marijuana reform. I think right away that we should have the decriminalization of marijuana immediately.
Okay.
I think we should have a 18-month plan for medical marijuana. And I think in the next 3 years, we should have the legalization of marijuana. I think, as of today, we now went from 20 to 22 states that now have some type of marijuana bill in place. As of today. Today is the exact anniversary for Colorado making 6 months in the industry.
Yes.
There is no doubt, Jamaica is about to legalize medical marijuana in 10 days. Just so y'all know. And CARICOM addressed the topic of regionally addressing marijuana in March.
Okay.
So these are things that we're going to be left behind if we don't realize that we need to talk about them.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we don't need to control weather like in Colorado. We have the natural environment in the Caribbean.
Right.
These topics are basic topics that we need to address. I don't think we should do it right away. We have the churches and everybody else to deal with. I think that the blueprint is there for us to edit.
Right away, then we're gonna fall. I'm sorry.
There is no doubt. I think it should be triple tier though. Decriminalization right away, medical, and of course legalization.
What are going to be your issues of how you're going to deal with any ideas of your deal solutions for our crime issues?
The irony about it, right? All of this income that I'm bringing in go fund everything we need.
Okay, so you believe that the money that you're bringing in through your plans will then eradicate
healthcare,
for the
that is the social ills. That is correct.
Okay.
I'm not about spending. Anybody could spend enough.
What about education?
Number one priority. I think there need to be a connection between our 7th and 8th grade to the vocational center and the Department of Labor. Something I've been working on for the last 8 years.
Because what I would want is when you bring all this stuff that you're talking about, that there's enough local people qualified to do the jobs that are going to be here.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it makes no sense of all this
100%
stuff
correct.
if the locals can't get
Guys,
the jobs.
Exactly.
my friends, the model that we talking about, the Mississippi Gulf area did it 12 years ago. Did it exactly the same way. The Chinese then went in there, and what they made sure they did was connected the universities to all of the companies. We just need to make sure we put the right procedure in place. But we need to start from junior high to junior high, through the vocational center, through the high school, connected to the Department of Labor. All three together.
Mr. Hodge, thank you for coming on to the show.
Yeah.
Calm down, it's okay. Come on to the
I'm
show
sweating,
tonight. Please,
I went to school here, so.
please let the audience know where they can find you so they can ask you more questions and hear a bit more about your plan in much more detail than you were able to give tonight.
Listen, log on to HodgeForSenate.com, okay? A comprehensive plan about my background, my vision, and my touchable approach to recovering our monies that we've been losing. There's a little icon on the right side that says donate. Click. Anything from $5 up, you can donate on my website, okay? Collin Hodge for Senate, number 5 on the August 2nd ballot. You can reach me at 690-2424, MassiveProductionInc.com or HodgeForSenate.com.
Thank you so much for coming on Very Voices. We really appreciate you being here and talking about you and dealing with the people who are here. And I'm sure that if you do make it to the primary, you will be back, I think, for the final. And then we'll have even more questions for you.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
So get ready for Miss Yoki and Mr. Boyd,
No problem. I love your question because those are the ones that I think we have opposition with. And those are the ones that I think are the most productive, that can do so much for us. And we have to get to a middle ground because the net result is good for this island.
And dissent is good in any discourse.
Yes.
All right, we'll be back in a moment with Carol Burke. Back in a moment. And welcome back to VI Voices. We have with us tonight Miss Carol M. Burke, who is seeking a seat in the 31st legislature of the Virgin Islands. And she is no stranger to the legislature, having been a senator before, our national committee woman for the Democratic Party of the Virgin Islands. And so, Ms. Burke, welcome to VI Voices.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is your first time on the show, right?
Excuse my sweating. I sweating because I anticipated questions. I sweated because I had. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Well, hopefully it won't come off on camera. So tell us why you're running for office and why people should vote for you.
Well, as you indicated, I'm a former senator, but more than that, for the past 5 years, I have sat in the legislature and see everything that's going on. And from my vantage point, I'm not satisfied, not at all. In terms of what is being delivered for the people of the Virgin Islands, I believe that the mark, is not even coming close to when I compare when I was a senator to what I'm seeing in terms of productivity that's being delivered for the people. So that for me is the beginning stage. But there are other reasons why I'm running. I'm running because I talk to my people. I go by the corners and I speak to the guys. I attend funerals that I'm so tired of going to when our sons and daughters are being murdered left and right. And apparently this government don't seem to really care that that's transparent, the crime level. I talk to the young people and I see the hopelessness in terms of a future in the Virgin Islands. When I was growing up, we used to be able to say, when we go to college, we know we're coming home to a job. Our children and their friends can't say that today, and that bothers me.
Ms. Burke, now, for the past 16 years, the Democratic Party has held, for the past 60, have held the highest office in land. And at most times, the majority of the members in the legislature have been skiddy-crats. Now, how can we as Virgin Islanders say that your party, through you as a vessel, will be able to secure a better future for all Virgin Islanders?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It's all about the dynamics of the legislature and the people who make up the legislature, majority and minority. I, for one, would have never been a part of a majority where there's 7 St. Thomas senators and 3 from St. Croix. Clear disadvantage, especially when the 2 of the 3 are novices, meaning they're freshman senators. Clear disadvantage. While I hear people talking about St. Croix caucus, I don't necessarily advocate that. What I advocate is a conscience. Okay, you have to, as a St. Croix resident and person who are representing St. Croix, know how to move and push your agenda in the dynamics of the established setting in the legislature, the composition, to make sure that the issues that you push and ultimately the legislation that you seek to get passed are to benefit the people of St. Croix and, to some extent, the entire Virgin Islands.
Senator Bob, the current healthcare crisis that we're facing, how you intend to be instrumental in reversing that?
Well, part of it is the monies that are not being put into the hospital.
Okay.
And to that extent, I am one who's considering, to some extent, and I'm guarded about it because, again, we come into this St. Croix St. Thomas thing, consolidation of our resources, and ultimately some of our, I don't want to say the hospital board, but I'm talking about the Department of Health doing more for the people with regards to health care and the delivery of that service that I just lost my mom, and she, even though she was a nurse, when she went to the hospital, they did not do all that they could have done for her, and too many people moving away, and that's why we're losing money. We have got to make sure that we get qualified people inside of there, from the professional doctors to the nurses to the technician, to make sure that we have the level of healthcare services for the people overall.
You speak about St. Thomas, St. Croix. How are you going to get around that? How are you going to walk around that? Historically speaking, St. Thomas always lead the way. It's the democratic stronghold or the power hole is in St. Thomas. You're a Democrat. How are you going to walk around?
And trust me, I have a good understanding of it. And I've been talking to some of my colleagues who are also running as Democrats, and we understand that well. We know that the stronghold, as you indicated, is on St. Thomas, and they play that card exceptionally well.
Correct.
We prepared ourselves to deal with it because, like I said, it's not about a St. Croix caucus. It's about being ready to deal with the dynamics that exist. The composition and the organizing of the legislature is key. Okay, we have people in there who hold key positions, who hold key chairmanships, and I tell you, when it comes to championing St. Croix, nothing is being done.
But
Let me ask you.
if I may, when the Democratic agenda has always been pro-labor, pro-working men and women. And to this particular point, and I use the phrase skiddy crotch because to this day the Democratic Party has yet to set a clear agenda, stuck by it, and work on the betterment of the people. You have former Senator White who have set the agenda. We have the
Who
president,
was not a Democrat.
yeah, who was independent,
I was a majority
a
leader.
majority leader.
Of a Democratic majority.
Correct. Had a very tight coalition with a
With a
Democratic
coalition.
governor.
Well, whatever it was, but they had
Yes.
more Democrats in there than anybody else. And
Admittedly
it was a
so.
10-member Democratic
Democratic majority.
legislature.
Correct. And then you had a Democratic governor who sent home 2,500 working men and women in these Virgin Islands.
And looking to send home more.
When do you, and you're a national committee woman, when does the Democratic Party set an agenda that is pro-working men and women in these Virgin Islands?
Okay, you said it exactly right. The party stands for the working man and woman. And I'm gonna sit here and tell y'all, in my estimation, our current governor is not a Democrat. Okay, absolutely not. And that's part of my thing. We have people who clothe themselves in the donkey attire, but when it comes to advancing the issues for the working man and woman, or even for the ordinary people, it's not there because they're not Democrat. They use the party to get what they want, and once they get it, they take off all the clothing and they become the person they really are. And in that is the current governor, John DeYoung.
So the wolf to come out. Okay, I want to go back to what you
Things
were
rough
mentioning.
tonight.
What you were mentioning before with healthcare, right? And in that vein, I'm going to rephrase my standard question a little differently. With now that we're seeing as we have the 6-month anniversary for Colorado with marijuana, and we have a lot more states now who are looking to legalize medical marijuana. Are you for or against the legalization of marijuana?
I am really a liberal Democrat, honestly. And if we have states like Colorado, who is for all intents and purposes our test tube, our test, and they coming off with resounding success, we'd be foolish not to even try to even look at the issue. And so I say yes, but to do it systemically, not to just roll out and say we're going to legalize marijuana, and we have that, but that we understand that we have to put regulations in place to make sure what it is that we're looking for. We're looking to grow revenues. I think that's our ultimate bottom line, that we want more money, new money to come into our coffers. And I don't think, as people have been saying, that to legalize it gonna bring in more crime. Absolutely not. I really don't think so. So yes, I will say yes to your answer, that I believe in legalizing it ultimately, but not tomorrow.
Now, let me ask this. The economy is a big issue. What is your plan for revenue generation of new money?
Of new money,
Yeah.
okay. Of course, we need investors to come in here, and I don't think investors will shy away from coming to St. Croix or the Virgin Islands, period. Because while we boast two things, we are in the Caribbean region, and we're the only English-speaking American entity around here. That's to our advantage, and we underplay our hand all the time. And I know that investors are looking at St. Croix in particular. We don't think that because we are the doldrum that they're not here. As they're here, they're looking. This is a global economy. The thing that they're concerned about is the cost of doing business here. We have to control two things: better control our infrastructure, meaning our WAPA, and as well as our internet service with regards to the reliability of services and the cost that the cost is a serious issue, and then the labor cost. Those are the two things, and I know if we take better control of those two things, investors they're looking. So why wouldn't they come? They'll come.
So then with that in place with what you said, we have current delegate no
Aspirant.
thank you, who is advocating a minimum wage increase from $7.25 to $10.10 an hour, right? While I can agree and understand that yes, we do need to have our people living better, I would be the first one to support it. we have to look on the other hand for the businesses. So you're just now saying in terms of making us more business friendly.
Yeah.
Should that come about now, would you support it? And if you did, how would you make it so that the businesses would be the ones surviving as well? Because if you put 10-10 in place as it stands now, I know businesses, especially such as mine, would have to shut down.
Well, I don't think your business should have to shut down, but I advocate as well to raising the minimum wage. It's a what we call a livable wage, you know, and I don't think where it's at now that people could really, and I know people who struggling to survive on that wage. What has happened over time is the middle class has shrunk in the Virgin Islands because and other places because the social programs that exist to subsidize, we often don't qualify for them. We mean in the middle class people. So we don't get an opportunity to feel additional way through additional. I want to say, you know, to really experience what it is to be in business, because we lose the ability to be subsidized because of where we are. You know, and that's on a personal level as well.
But then would you say then that the EDC type benefits that are extended to these larger companies would then be rolled out to the smaller companies? Because again, I want to make it clear, I'm not against that, the increase. I think it should happen, but if it does happen, you need to look on the business side as well, so that the businesses can afford to pay this extra wages, because if we pick GRT is 5%, they ain't look like it's going down anytime soon, and all the other customs and fees and whatnot that we have to pay as businesses, how are we now going to be able to, sustain an increase?
Our government has never, ever done anything to retain small businesses. We've never really done anything as a government. You got SBDA and all those other programs, but you have to be eligible for those programs. But the government has not come up with a strategy to help small business. Say they forgo for a year, they forgive some kind of tax. It gives you a break, okay? And that's what we need to consider. We consider new businesses through the EDC. But we also have been extending to those big corporations a lot of benefits, as with the RT part, okay? When they have the capability of surviving and profiting, profiting from the businesses that they have here in the Virgin Islands, we still helping them. And that shouldn't be. They're in business, they've been here long enough and if they have problems, then that's what the banks are there for. But we should do more, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be looking into, to really help small businesses retain their businesses in the islands.
Yes, and speaking about the economy and bringing in businesses, which is necessary, and I agree that our workforce now is minimal to none. You have a plan in addressing how we're going to develop this workforce, or what's your plan in addressing developing it?
Well, that's really my background. I have designed training programs as well as administered and provide policy for them as well. When there was the third extension agreement, I secured $1 million from that agreement to make sure that every single child in this government had a summer job. To that end, let me say this, we've got to do better. That a vocational center in St. Croix exists to me as a shell, because it's underutilized and underfunded. We have got, when St. Croix turns around, we have to have a qualified workforce that will take on the jobs that become available. So the university, our university, who happens to be a land grant university, has to do more in terms of working with education and the business community, in business and industry, to make sure that they're offering the kinds of courses that will help these students, whether they take going to an academic track or a vocational track, to secure the jobs that ultimately become available.
But you're talking about a university,
yes,
who at present isn't really equipped to train our workforce. And I'm going to give a good example. They have universities like University of Phoenix, Western Governors University, Kaplan University. All of these universities are offering online degrees to people within our shores who want to get masters and other professional degrees, as well as seek promotion and other opportunities. But to this day, the university has yet to offer a program similar to those working men and women within the government, within private sector? Do you think our universities ready? And how would you help them get ready to tackle this problem?
The university is dependent on money from the general fund. They rely on the general fund to operate.
Everybody seems to be relying on the general fund to operate.
Yes,
Right.
but they should be raising more of its own money to operate
And that's the problem.
for the university.
Right.
Yes, it is. I agree, absolutely. But I also think the focus, the university has not, in my humble opinion, transcended in the past 10 years to the level of a reform in its curriculum.
10?
They act the same accounting
You
degree,
being kind.
the same business degree,
You
the
being
same
kind.
is the same. Nothing has changed.
You being kind.
So
Last
they're
time-
rolling out the same graduates to take on jobs that sometimes saturated. You know, there's no new challenges they're
No
taking on.
diversification.
Okay, but part of that is the people's fault. That's a land grant university.
But the-
It should reflect the needs of our community.
But the administration appoints the board. Eventually,
I will say this, that I don't see the current University of Virgin Islands in the same light and with the same force that the College of the Virgin Islands had.
Yes.
And I think the College of the Virgin Islands was
Stature.
what, if we had now what was the College of the Virgin Islands,
Right.
would be
So much better.
so much
Oh,
farther
yeah.
so
along.
what are you trying to say? Ovaltine legacy is
Me
the
saying
present
nothing about
university that we had?
All I
What?
said is
But I
that-
said it.
See, well,
I said it.
No, you asked me if I am saying.
Okay, but I'm telling you, Ovaltine's legacy
Okay, that's
is
what
the
I'm gonna
present
say.
university that we presently have.
Okay.
Because you're saying 10, our university has not moved
Been
from where it
managed.
was in 1991 or somewhere in the mid-90s. We have greatly regressed. And if our university, if we are going to tackle this problem, you're right, former senator, if we're going to tackle this problem, we have to bring the University of Virgin Islands into this dynamic.
Yes, and not just them alone. Somebody also mentioned, I think somebody said about the government. We as a government have to bring all the stakeholders to the table, including the governor. The governor has to lead this charge. He has to be the one to
I don't want
say,
any more.
not this
No.
current
Oh,
judge.
okay.
You
Okay.
personalizing it.
No,
I tell him,
no,
we're
right,
in the
okay.
seat, not this one.
Yeah.
He getting
yeah.
ready to go home.
January 5th, 2015.
You know,
It's marked on my calendar.
the governor have to say, I want my workforce to be this type of workforce, and he gotta get in and marching orders. That's what
But
happens.
how can the governor say this when we have not set clear standards for our children in elementary education,
Isn't that the
in
leader's
junior high school,
responsibility?
in junior high school, and high school? We have not set clear standards, and when our government continue to advertise for positions with A-grade education.
Oh,
No,
Jesus.
no,
Okay.
no, and honestly,
With A-grade?
we advertise for position with 8th-grade education, and when we bring them on, we do not have a plan to get them to a GED or high school so they can move on up the ranks. We
that
keep
they
them there
can
for 20, 25 years. So our government isn't ready. How do we get them ready?
So you agree with me? I made this statement at every event, every venue that I have been gone on the campaign trail, every stump that we harvest in the scant, harvest of our own
Sour
neglect.
seeds.
We neglect to do these things. Listen, you're talking about education, but I don't see where the parents even stepping up and demanding anything with
But how
regards
can the
to.
parents step up if they themselves haven't been educated?
Yes, they can.
How? If
That's-
but
you
the
using that?
the education system is not even allowing them to be educated or
They
giving
have a
them the
voice.
proper.
They have a
How?
voice.
The problem
How?
is-
Because in a lot of the PTAs, it is the school that runs the PTA, which should not be.
Well,
And
and that's usually because 8 parents are there.
Correct.
when
But
the
no,
eight
That's what
parents
I'm talking about.
No, but
when the
hold on.
eight parents are there,
agree with
no.
that one.
No,
When the
Yoki.
8 parents
No,
are
It's
there,
called
or
the
not.
parent.
No, it's the parent.
I agree with this one, but I'm
And
telling
then
you,
the school is the one that runs
when
it.
this government burdens our parents like mules, so they can carry, they want to raise this tax, that tax, they pay for everything. So parents have 2-3 jobs, and the kids are left latchkey, and it's because they're being overburdened like mules. So parents want to parent,
But
when
can't,
but
because
they
they have to
cannot
survive.
effectively
You can say
parent.
what you want. I don't fully
Farrell,
agree with that.
I
don't fully
I
agree with
agree
that.
with that
I don't
either.
fully
Excuse
agree
me?
with that.
I don't think I fully agree
I
with
do
that.
not fully agree
may
with
not
that.
be
You know,
I
we
think-
are
I
no
think-
longer a village.
Thank you.
That's the
Parents
short of it.
choose
We are
what they
no
want to
longer
be
a
involved
village.
with, and the
Hey.
parent and the children see it. Okay, they see it. Let me tell you, you'll be amazed at how many of our children are raising themselves today. Okay?
Carol, I understand
and it's
that.
because the parents say, let somebody else
No,
deal
no,
with
I
it.
understand that. I'm gonna tell you straight
They
out.
can't discipline them if they go to jail.
I'm a parent. I have 3 children. They can tell you that he has a plan for them. I parent, and sometimes I parent from a distance because I don't live in the same home for them. But I'm gonna tell you, if I had more of a disposable income, I could do way more with my children
I'm
and
gonna disagree with that.
for my
But
children.
I think the operative is you are parenting.
No, I am parenting,
even
but-
with what you
but-
have
but-
now.
but let me give you a good
and
example.
there are some who are not parenting,
but look at-
and that is the problem.
But look at
But
summer
then
camp.
there are
Look at
those that
summer
need
camp.
the help to parent, and they don't have that help or that assistance.
Correct.
Exactly like what he's going
So-
with the summer camp.
And
now
summer
you
camp-
have people
Senator
who want
Bob.
to have places
Yeah.
for their children
Senator
and they
Bob.
can't
Yeah,
go.
let's go back to Senator Bob.
Let we talk
I'm
about
happy
crime,
now.
please. Now again, I will crime in
Show
this
it to
place.
us.
Sherry, too.
I speak.
Crime.
I spoke about it.
You did?
Yeah.
About addressing it? Your plans for addressing it?
Yeah. Oh, okay. We can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, what-
The governor recently sent down something to the legislature because I don't know if you know, but the Caribbean Basin Initiative Fund has been empty for some time. That's the fund that really deals with interventive programs throughout the territory. Okay, and if there's anything I've ever agreed with John Young, our governor, it's that. Okay, we need to start back those intervention programs at all levels. Okay, because they made a big difference with regards to the overall development of our youth. There's a lot of hopelessness in our youth today. We gotta try and remove it. We gotta get them, and I ain't talking about no piam job. They need real jobs that gonna make them feel like they're the real man they're supposed to be.
Legalize
So,
marijuana.
so you're talking about the fathers need real jobs too, instead of
Like,
PR
yeah,
job.
yeah,
No, but my thing to it, we always come to this.
Let me have a quick question, please. Quick. You were
But
saying-
make sure it's quick because we're
And the-
over. And
Waka-
Ricky is looking at
I
me
mean,
with
I
really
want to
bad looks.
violate.
Wapa, the brown water, white people got to be paying for that.
Oh, good question.
Excellent question. And guess what? I used to be the
I know.
chairwoman of the WAPA.
I know, that's
I
why
can
I
answer
said.
you without
Okay.
any fear.
All right.
What has happened, and not only that, by my sitting in the legislature, I started unfold. About a year ago, WAPA came before the legislature and they get Senator Hanson to sponsor amendment. Okay, and this is what happens to these things that are done on the floor without any forethought, because there's always some hidden agenda. They sponsor an amendment to enter into contract with a company called 7 Seas, who've had long-standing relationship with WAPA to provide reverse osmosis water in St. John. They advanced the amendment, and this was Senator Hanson, by saying, based on her information from WAPA, that the that the cost of the water was less, that it gonna drive down the cost. Guess what? It's a far lower quality water than the desalination water that WAPA has.
So
okay?
basically,
we get
funding somebody else, a cousin
Thank
and
you
brother,
very much.
and
That is
and
what
we getting
happened.
subpar.
That's what, at the people's expense. We getting bad water.
Because you have
We get what we pay for. Okay,
Okay.
that's what it
So,
is.
well, all right, it is what it is. Miss Burke, please let us know where we can find you if we have more questions
Okay,
for you.
more questions?
Yes,
I
people
wa-
might want to see you on the street. I want to ask you some questions.
Of course,
Yes.
of course, and I welcome that. Of course, you can find me on my Facebook page, Burke for Senate. I'm there, as well as you can email me at burkeforsenate@gmail.com or call me at 626-1576.
Your number?
And I'm always on the street.
Your number?
My number is 8, the People's Candidate, Carol Burke.
All right.
There we go. All right, Ms. Burke, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much. We'll be back in a moment with Troy Mason. Back in a moment. Good evening and welcome back to VI Voices. We now have with us Mr. Troy Mason, who's also seeking a seat in the 31st Legislature of the Virgin Islands. Mr. Mason, welcome. This is not your first time on VI Voices. You actually were here the last time when you sought a senatorial seat in the 30th Legislature of the Virgin Islands. So welcome tonight. So this is to be not foreign to you, right?
Yes.
For those of us who may not know who you are, who watches the show, let them know a little bit who you are and why you're running.
Good evening again, good night. My name is Troy Mason. I'm number 14 on the ballot. My reason for running is because I don't agree with a lot of things I see going on. This is not my first time running, as stated earlier. I put myself in this arena to try and make a change. And now I see that we really do need change in the Virgin Islands.
Now, Mr. Mason, again, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you said we need a change.
Yes, we do.
Name 3 things that we need to change in the Virgin Islands, and what are your solution to bring about change for those 3 items?
Talk about.
1, we need to change the way we do business. We need to make ourselves more marketable. You know, I travel quite a bit. And when I travel, I like to go and see places, and not just the place, but the way that the government of the place runs their business. A lot of people don't understand, but our government is actually a business. At the end of the day, it's a business, it has a budget, it has a work. And this is something that we need to understand. We need to market ourselves better. We need to let people know that our doors are open for business. Right now, like it was stated earlier, how many people we have coming here and they're trying to invest, trying to do this, but it's as though we're saying we want you, but at the same time we don't want you. If we're going to be so selective, then do me a favor, let's get specific and go out and look for the exact people that we want.
And honestly, change is a common theme that everybody uses. You hear it here, and you hear this guy's in a grand division here, this guy's in all many things.
Yes.
We need legislators who are going to go in, manage government, help the government to help them manage the government, so the government can run effectively. What do you bring to the table to say the people can consider you as one of their choices come election day, as a person that can bring about that transformation and reformation in government?
What do I bring to the table? Every time I sit down every year and I look at the what makes up our legislature, and then I look at some of the issues they have to deal with, I am disappointed. Why do I say I'm disappointed? Because, for example, the Hovensa deal, such of an important issue on the table, and to me, I didn't see one person within our legislature that was knowledgeable on the deal that they, at the end of the day, had to vote on and pass across. I'm an oil and energy professional. I bring that to the table. Over the last 16 years, I put myself in an entity. In fact, when I came back from college, I actually was supposed to work for the government. My NOPA was never signed, so I actually went into Hovensa. I worked there for almost 16 years. While there, I put myself in places to learn. Because not all times you have to write a bill or you have to do an amendment to fix a problem. We have people right here on this island with the technology. Why don't we just go there and get some of that technology and bring it right here to our table? I'm a simple person. I believe in solving problems. I bring that to the table. I have proven it. I have given answers over the years that look right now we're in the process of doing one. What am I talking about? About 8 years ago when I ran for the Senate, the question I was asked was, how could we bring down or deal with our energy issue, the crisis, with WAPA? And I gave them a simple answer. That answer I actually discussed with some engineers who worked at Hess the time when I was working there. And he gave me, Mr. Salaya, Ruben Salaya said to me, Troy, there are things WAPA need and you nailed it on the head. But the main one that we need is what's happening now. The induction of the use of propane into the generators. That will save us money. I can tell you I've seen it work inside of Hovensa. The only problem is how much money it will save us, because at the rate, it seems like every few months, WAPA goes to PSC asking for a raise, asking to raise.
Well, they
raise,
just
raise.
reduced it.
Yeah, they reduce it, but they keep going back. So here's my problem. They say we're going to save what, 30%? 15-30%? When we get there, are we going to save 30% from where they are then, or are we going to save 30% from where we are now? Because in reality, what I think it's going to be it's going to raise some more, so that when we get there, we're just going to drop back to what we have now.
Well, let me ask you this question. Would you agree with me that the reason that we have such high costs per kilowatt is because the government of the Virgin Islands isn't paying their bill?
I agree, that's part of it. I have to say that. Because, again, working in Ovensa, I put myself in a position to learn. And I learned a lot in energy. I just didn't go and learn operations. In my spare time, I was learning and doing other things. And I saw what it took to make energy, how much it cost to make it per kilowatt hour, and we had Hovensa right here. The biggest thing that really caught my attention was that when Hovensa closed down, and we basically have to get oil from somewhere else offshore, don't you realize that our LIAC and our WAPA building just skyrocketed up one time? Because it was already up there. It went up a little bit, but it did not go up how I expected to go up. It was high when we had the fuel right here being delivered to us. Now we have to bring the fuel from who knows where, and I expected it to skyrocket.
But isn't the LIAC really about
World market.
right? But not only that, it was instituted. It was only supposed to be for 6 months, really.
Yes, it was.
I just went on for years and years and years. But isn't it now that you have the issues where WAPA, in order to even function and operate, they need to have, and they don't call it LIAC anymore. It's called a surcharge.
Fuel surcharge.
now.
Fuel surcharge.
Where your WAPA bill or your consumption is like $50, but when you tack on that fuel consumption, your bill is $320. Is that, we had a senator who ran on, I'm going to destroy and get rid of the LIAC, which we all know is a farce, because that's never going to happen. But what is your plan for purposes of getting better, I guess, getting the community to be able to pay better rates for their energy consumption? And then in turn, businesses will be able to do the same and be able to stay open by paying better rates.
Taking in consideration that you have a lot of private individuals and businesses who are jumping off the grid, how would you make it so that the rate is still affordable for those who are on the grid still?
Okay, that's a tough question, but I'm going to give it my answer. And the answer has a long plan with it, you see, because right now people continue to say about when people jump off the grid, they get off the grid, they get off the grid. Yes, when you get off the grid, yes, you're not paying into the system, right? But there's another side that I don't hear anyone saying. That means that they have to produce less power, which would take what? Less fuel. Everything should go down. But you see, we don't ask the right questions and we don't attack WAPA at the right places. We always just stick to the cliche and what's going on, and we don't realize the towel that's being pulled over our face. I'm not going to sit here and tell you all that I know the exact problem in WAPA. I know pieces of it, but I know when I get there as a senator, I could ask more and get answers. I could demand
So what's the
answers. My plan, to tell you the truth.
What is the truth?
Well, one, we have to look for ways to get this fuel surcharge down. My reason for saying that, again, I have been to other islands and looked at the price of WAPA for like family members of mine. And to see that I am here on St. Croix and I'm paying presently my own, I'm paying about $250 US, and my mother's other house on another island is paying about $200 EC, which is less than 100. Guess what? On that island, there is no HES. Everything is imported just like here. How can they do it at such of a cheap price and we can't do it? Something is wrong on it. We have to go in the system and see what's in there. I don't know what's in there.
So Mason,
But don't they?
Yes.
Sorry.
you
go
ran,
ahead.
this is like what, your 5th time running?
Yes, it
What
is.
are you doing now? What have you done differently to prepare yourself to run right now? The people
What-
didn't vote for you in the last few elections.
Yes.
Why they gonna vote for you today?
Because I've approached this differently. When I ran the last few times, like I said, I was working at HES. I had all the signs out there. I did lots of commercials. The main different thing that I did this time, I am actually out there at people's house. I'm doing canvassing every single day from morning to night.
And what's the number one issue during your canvassing? What's
Yes.
the number one issue that they're bringing to you?
I'm getting issues like
Number one.
Number one, retired people who have to make a decision to use their $300 and something check to pay WAPA or to eat.
So energy.
Energy, that's number one I get from people.
And your energy plan is what?
And my energy plan is I have to find ways to get that done. Some of my ways that I have in place.
I accept that everybody's going to have to find ways.
Some of my ways is, again, you may not agree with it, but we need to teach people this idea that we have out there about creating a solar plant. A solar plant, it's very hard to light up a community, but it's much easier if you can get people more involved. Like, for example, the solar water heaters in their house. That would bring down the price. Putting some monies into the energy office to be able to subsidize, because that was there at one point. Now, when I went to apply for it
How
the other
about
day,
getting the
it
government of the Virgin Islands to pay their bill? And I think what everybody's forgetting is that when the government doesn't pay their bill,
Yes.
if their bill is $1, they don't pay it, then somebody has to pay it, which is the people.
That's
but
true.
it is not dollar for dollar. So for every dollar the government doesn't pay, the regular people have to pay $8 for every dollar they don't pay. And so that is why you see all this, what they call fuel surcharge, that they're using the money for all kinds of other things, because that's the only way they can operate. So I want you to tell me your plan for energy. Well, not right. Say my plan for energy is what? What is the plan?
Because it doesn't sound like you're including alternative energy at all. It seems to me as if you're against it.
I
In
am,
other words, let me
I
ask
am,
it this
I
way.
am, I am not
Let me ask you
against.
this way. One, are you in support of ensuring a line item budget where specifically the government of the Virgin Islands departments must pay their WAPA bills with the funds that are paid?
Yes.
Okay. Now, are you in support of individuals who may decide to come off of the grid, or for those who are not on it, being subsidized to be able to come off of it, or at least reduce the amount of consumption they have for use of oil?
For use of oil?
Meaning, rather than have no
fossil fuel.
solar energy at all, right? They're subsidized to assist them to be able to purchase solar water heaters, solar whatever it is, so that they can minimize what it is that they are using.
Yes, I just said that.
You are. Okay.
Yes.
Now, are you also then in support of transporting or moving what is currently WAPA where it is to a different location, South Shore?
Yes, the molasses pier.
Okay.
And also getting new equipment, because that is part and parcel of the problem with WAPA right now, is that the equipment is inefficient.
Okay. When I put my plan together, that was one of my number one points. Because, and the reason why I said that, I put my plan together for years ago when I first started running, right? And the part of the plan that was really, it would have been really good if it was moved in, was the bare fact that Hovensa was there. In
But it's not
Texas,
there
hold
now.
on, in Houston, Texas, what happens is the energy plant is put in the middle of all these in Baytown, Texas, in the middle of the refineries, right? And the reason for that is, at a refinery, you have lots of excessive fuels that needs to be burned, and they are sent to flare. At one point, I was actually told by an engineer inside of Hovensa that if our energy plant was located on the South Shore, that fuel could actually be given to Hess rather than burned for free in a flame.
Okay, but we don't have Hovensa. Hovensa is gone. We don't have no refinery.
It still needs to be
We don't
moved.
have no refinery. Okay, but everything I'm hearing that you're talking about is hinged and based on Hovensa doing this, Hovensa being that. Hovensa gone, it dead, it buried. We don't even believe that there will be, let's operate on the premise that there will be no more oil refineries. Tell me a plan for energy efficiency and to save us money.
My plan,
Yeah.
number one.
No refineries.
No refineries.
Okay, good.
But we have stuff we could use over there. Let's purchase GT20 from Hovensa. It's sitting there.
And
What
GT20
I'm
would
going to
be-
tell you what GT20. GT20 is the newest turbine that Hovensa built. Why they built it? Because they realized their spinning reserve was low and they added the coca and they needed more power.
It's a gas
GT20, well, gas turbine. GT20,
Yeah, just so that they know it's a gas turbine.
GT20 produces just about enough power to power up St. Croix. And it's all sitting in the perfect position for this plan. If there's going to be no Hovensa, why do we have to let them sell it and go elsewhere? In fact, we can even come up, no, but like we're saying, there's not going to be any more refinery, so whoever buys it has to pick everything up and go. Why don't we buy that piece? It has a parking lot right there, it has some buildings that could be used, and the good thing about it, when WAPA ran the main lines a few years back, and when I say the main lines, there were 7 main lines run. One for the airport, one for the jail, one for the hospital, one to Frederickstead, to the Frederickstead, to the Christiansted. and they are all running directly in front of Hovensa at the point I'm talking about. If you know anything about energy, those exact same lines could be used to feed back out to the company, to the community.
Okay, that's your plan. Crime.
Crime.
What's your plan for crime? Crime is astronomical
curtail
around
it.
here.
Yes.
To curtail.
Yeah, I don't want
Correct.
him
You
to have a plan
can.
for coming.
He knows exactly what he's talking about.
I think we need to attack this crime problem from a different way than people are doing it right now.
Which is?
One, I think we need to tighten up on our ports. Guns are not manufactured here in St. Croix. They're coming in, and they're coming at a rapid rate. I spoke to some customs officers, and I was alarmed at the rate that he told me that these containers are being searched. He was like, we're only searching like 5% of these things. We need to step that up. Get the monies to put the right amount of people we need down there to fix that. Two, we need to go to the elementary schools and the junior high schools. Follow me with this. Imagine we are putting money into our curtailing crime, and we're trying to take the criminals. What about the ones that are being made at the bottom? If we continue to put the money up here, the people at the bottom are going to continue coming up here, and we're always going to be in a reactive mode. We need to get in a preventative mode. We need to go into the schools, create programs. I was speaking to a guy this afternoon who does volunteer tennis at Canigata. You know what was the most alarming facts that I heard from him? He has been doing this for the last 20 years, and in 20 years he has been volunteering for free, teaching over 60 students every year for 9 months. For free. He does not get paid, and he does not charge anything. And over that 20 years, not one senator, governor, or commissioner has even came up to him at the facility and said, you're doing a good job. We want to help you. We want to do this. This is one man trying to make a difference. We need more of that. We need to provide centers here for when kids come out of school. They have a positive place to go to learn, not to go home like we were saying to raise themselves. We need them to go places.
Well, when they show air, I'm sure that they'll go now and ask him.
What did we have before that?
We had those centers before. But
What centers did we have?
We had Beacon schools, because my children was part of the Beacon school, and I am one parent that is very upset that there is no more Beacon school, because I saw the difference it made with my children, and it was cut because of no funding. So that was one. Even the United Way, their programs have been slashed because they're not getting funding.
Girls Club.
Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you. So you'd have all these programs.
4-H don't offer their summer camp anymore.
Summer.
Because they
We
have
need
no
something
funds.
here. We need something
Well, how
here.
are we going to get the
We
funds
need
to
something
generate?
here.
Where are we going to get the funds to do
We
that?
floating all kind of bonds and taking all kind of loans to pay people income tax. Why can't we do something like that?
Income tax
For
is
example,
something
I had the opportunity of attending a YMCA when I was growing up, because I stayed in the States for a while, about a year, right? And to tell you the truth, if St. Croix had a place like a YMCA here, believe me, see those kids
So
coming
what's
out
your
of
plan
school?
to bring it?
What's my plan to bring it? I'm going to find the monies wherever it is, whether I have to float bonds or whatever, to bring a program like that here.
Okay,
No,
so
talk
we're finding the
about
money.
floating bonds.
Let me ask you a question, please.
Okay, go ahead.
In terms of raising money, marijuana, we've seen Colorado is able to put $1.9 million to education from marijuana sales alone. Are we for or against legalization of marijuana? Why or not? Why not?
I'll be frank, I'll be exact. I think there are a lot of ways we can look for money right now rather than into going into marijuana. Now, I have no problem with marijuana legalization. I have investigated, I have everything. The problem I have now is we see Colorado legalize marijuana, and a lot of people are flocking there because now you could go there and smoke weed or do what you want, right? But we need to see the other side of the story. The amount of millions of dollars that has to be spent to train police officers for education on how to deal with it and all the other things. It's on the news just about every night.
How to deal
We
with what?
don't
Educate how to deal with what?
with the legalization of marijuana. It's not just regular. I mean, it's not just, okay, we legalize it and it passed and it done.
Yeah, but
There's
the
millions of
taxes
dollars.
that go into that. So that's
The
what
taxes, but the taxes ain't here yet. You need that money before, in front. And I watched it on the world news tonight.
I'm a little confused. What do you mean education on?
Education for the cops. Equipment for the cops, because now they are treating marijuana just like drunk driving. It was on the news. We need to investigate
They're
this.
treating marijuana
Like
drunk
they're
driving.
giving tickets. So they had to train all the police
Giving tickets for
officers
what?
for being high. There's like a breathalyzer test for it
Right,
now.
but they should already have that education.
Exactly.
No.
Yes, they already have
driving
it.
under the influence. No, the statute is driving under the influence, and it's not limited to alcohol.
Here is the
And so if
difference.
the officers don't know now, then that's a problem with
There is a
officers.
difference. It's on the news. You have to look it up.
No. What I'm
The
saying
difference
to you
now is
Troy,
there's
what I'm
different
saying-
ways of
Troy,
detection.
Troy, what I'm saying to you is, driving under the influence, the criminal statute is what it is. It's influence under whether it's alcohol or marijuana, and so I don't understand why officers need to be trained
They should have
on
been
whether
trained
somebody is
already.
not. No, I do understand that if there's a separate detection for whether somebody is high on marijuana, I get that, but I don't see how that becomes an issue to curtail the legalization of marijuana.
It's
You
an
have to
issue.
learn anyway.
It's an issue that we are seeing now. This is me, right? We're a very small island. We're a dot on the map. I always say we need to try not to invent the wheel. Let's allow these big states, big islands, big countries invent the wheel, and then we come pick up the wheel, polish it, put a new tire, and run with it.
So you're against legalization.
I am not against legalization. I'm just saying we need to move forward
Me
with
too,
it.
'cause
Then I'm
that's where
confused. But I will
that's
say
what-
this to you: our officers here are very trained because every car that stopped, they can smell marijuana, know it's
One time.
marijuana.
One
I
time.
can tell you,
It's
as a
not
crim-
just
I can
the
tell you as a
scent.
criminal. I can tell you as a criminal defense lawyer, every car a police officer stopped that they want to search. My experience, I smell marijuana.
marijuana.
So I don't think they would need training if
But
we would legalize
you're
it.
saying smell marijuana. I'm not talking about smell marijuana. I'm talking about detection on if you're above the limit that they set. Yes, there is all of that in Colorado. See, because a lot of people here who talk about legalizing
But they have-
this.
wait. No,
you're
I
talking
think-
about the free sobriety test, right? You
Right,
can use that.
No,
What
it's
I'm
not
saying-
simple like that.
What I am
I
saying,
thought it
Troy,
was, but it's not.
No, what I'm saying is, I think you are confusing an issue, and the issue is, I don't understand how either you are or you are not for it. And what I believe you're saying is that there has to be all this training, all these other things need to happen, and you're talking about the detection of, I think you said the marijuana detection and the regulation of if you have more than you need to have. All of those things are currently in the statute for Colorado as to what you can have for personal use and what you can't have for personal use. What I guess my question to you is, or her question was, either you agree with it or you don't agree with it. I'm hearing that you're saying that you agree with it, but you want to have certain things in place. Is that what it is you're saying?
Yes,
Okay, but that's not what was coming across. What was coming
Yeah.
across was,
But that's what I've been saying. That's why I came up and I said, before we venture, we need to understand that there's a high price we need to spend before we can get that 1.9 million a year.
Right.
The 1.9 million sounds great, but there's a lot we need to spend. It's on the news. It's
But
there
what's
for
the lot?
everyone to see.
What's the
What's the
lot?
lot?
Yeah.
I was watching the news about 2 weeks ago, and according to one of the programs that was there, it was $30 million needed for training. I was like, wow.
Training for what?
For training of officers.
To do what?
well, if that's the case, then our officers will need 60. Okay, so we're out of time, so let everybody know where we can find you if they have more questions for you, and what your number is for the primary.
Thank you again for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending. My name is Troy Mason. I'm number 14 on the ballot. If you need to get in touch with me, my number is 513-4223. That's with the 340 area code. I am also on Facebook. And on Facebook, I have a second page, Friends to Elect Troy to the Senate 2014. I invite everyone, if you have a question for me, feel free. You can even call me up, ask a question. Let's have a debate. Let's have a conversation. Because at the end of the day, I may come with solutions, but my solutions only get better with your input. Thank you
Well,
very
thank you
much.
so very much for coming on the show. All right, we'll be back in a moment with Mr. Eugene LaCorbiniere. Back in
And
a
he
moment.
says, friends to elect Troy.
Welcome welcome to VI Voices. We're here now with Mr. Eugene LaCorbiniere, who again is now running for a seat in the 31st Legislature of the Virgin Islands and in the Democratic primary. Welcome to VI Voices.
Thank you.
This is not your first time here. You've been here before because you ran last term, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And so a little bit, share with the audience of who you are and why you're running.
My name is Eugene LaCorbiniere. I've been working extremely hard to get some businesses to invest here on St. Croix. I was born and raised here on St. Croix. I went to St. Croix Country Day School. I then went to Woodson, and then I graduated from Central High. I'm a military veteran. I graduated from Florida A&M University with honors. I've been back on the island now for the past 11 and a half, almost 12 years, working with education, working with the GED program, helping people to change their lives. And we actually had one of the biggest graduations this year. We had a lady that was 67 years old, and we had another one that was 16. So I really deal with people who come to our program with all kinds of issues and all kinds of problems as to why they never got out of school, and we try to change that for them. So I'm also an author of several books. Like I said, I'm a military veteran. I was in the Navy in the first Persian Gulf War back in '91. I'm also the CEO of Sea Business and Management Consulting. I work with multinational companies, international companies, companies from abroad and local companies. What I do as far as a consultant is I look at problems in the company as to why they may be failing, and I try to find solutions and answers for that. And that's a range, as far as business management, that's a range of different issues. We come from HR, employment, training, spending, their budget, economics, how they grow and what they're doing not to grow. So it's just that job in consulting basically has allowed me to interact with many different companies. And one of the companies that I brought here was one of the companies that actually came to me to help them grow. And one of the suggestions that I had for them is to grow here in the Virgin Islands, particularly St. Croix. So I think I have a skill set that is definitely needed here. We have a government that is failing tremendously. We have it spending money ridiculously, like you said, with the beer pocketbook and a champagne appetite. And it's been going on for a very, very long time. So unless we put serious people in there who actually have the skill set, have the experience, and have been working in the community before asking for a seat, I think we're going to pretty much get the same old, and then blame the candidates when we as citizens should really take a closer look at who we are choosing and pressing that button.
Now, one of the things you talked about is investors, or getting investors in here. What is your plan for revenue generation of new money to the territory?
I ran the last time, and I don't know if you guys remember my platform. My platform was an economic development plan. You can't really do anything. You can't, even if you have invested, you have to have a plan for the money that comes in. You have to have a plan to get the money here. Economic development is very serious. You'll see a lot of the candidates spitting it out. You see them talking about the economy, we need to do this, we need to do that. But very few of them really actually have working knowledge of how to do this. And I'm one of the only candidates that actually has. As far as bringing our economy up, my main thing for revenue generating measures is that the company that I'm bringing here is a manufacturing company. It's going to be manufacturing solar panels and wind turbines and solar water heaters. This is going to become a GDP of the Virgin Islands. We're going to be able to ship this product around the world, throughout the Caribbean. They already got their LLC registration, property over at the Renaissance, and we're going forward with this. We're also looking for local investors. So if anyone is out there who is interested in investing locally, we're also encouraging that.
But they have to pay for airtime. So for that. But what I want for you to explain specifically is okay. So one of your revenue generation is this one company. Do you have any, or do you have? In other words, what are your plan? Maybe what your diversified plan, if you have one, to bring new money to the territory.
Well, this one company will be providing over 200 jobs and at least $10 million to the coffers yearly. We also have another company, a pharmaceutical company. I heard Hodge talk about, we had these things here before, but there's a company that I'm working with out of Miami that is very interested in having their distribution companies set here. And that's because of the many benefits to Jones Act and many other things that we have here that is ridiculous. One of the main things that I'm going to really be looking at as far as bringing businesses and industries here We're going to be having a training school for young people. That's going to be mandatory. Whatever we bring here has to be able to have opportunities for our young people. And if we're not trained, it's not going to work. So we really have to look at what we bring in here and how can it work with our community in the best way.
Let me ask you.
What about the old people? And honestly, I'm going to tell you what about old people them is, they say bring for the young people. But one thing that the recession and the closure of events have shown us, we have an older workforce that have diminishing skills, and they're not ready for this work for the 2014 workplace. So what are you going to do with those people that probably between the ages of 40 and 55
retirement age.
that are out there in limbo? How do you get those people reintegrated back into the workforce?
Well, the industries and companies that I work with, not all of them would be suitable for elderly people. But mainly what I think our elderly community needs is a strong and vibrant middle class and working young people to help bring forth that. If you're an elderly person, and
remember now.
Go ahead.
Those people I just mentioned are middle class. The elderly are 60 and 65. I'm talking 40 to 55. They don't qualify for senior home. They don't have a senior citizen card. They have to wait until 62 for early retirement benefits from Social Security. So they are definitely in the middle class, but they are a little bit older, and they're not spring chickens anymore. But they have families, they have bills. How do you get them back out working?
Well, just like with the younger people, the opportunity is going to be there for them. Like I said, the jobs that are coming to the program, to St. Croix, they're going to be administrative jobs, not just laboring jobs. They're going to be executive jobs and positions. There's going to be a variety of different positions that we can look at for all the community, because I don't want to get pigeon-toed in looking at any particular sector of the community. I don't want to start looking like I was down in Frederickstead yesterday at another event, and our town, Frederickstead, people, our island, our community, the whole thing, Frederickstead to Christiansted, is dying, young and old, in between, is living in darkness because of this WAPA stuff. Young and old, businesses are closing. That affects everybody. So until we put people in these offices who can have a holistic look at how to deal with some of these problems, and I hope I have a little bit more time to even talk about the energy, the hospital, and crime, we're not going to go anywhere. And a lot of people talk about change. We need change. Change is here. The question is, how willing is the community to embrace that change?
Okay, let me ask you a question. You're talking about bringing in these companies as a manufacturer. I know one of the most difficult things that I find is to ship off island. We are severely restricted, by what we have in terms of airlift, which is non-existent. And even for boats, you have to wait until the trailer is full before it can leave. You understand? Coupled on top of that fact is that we are international. So we have to pay extra duties if we ship back to the US, despite the fact that we fly back. So how are those companies that you are bringing in, avoiding those costs? And how would you also make it so that local businesses such as myself can also survive, and not have to deal with these ridiculous costs?
Okay, well, as far as your business is shipping and stuff, I don't know what your business is.
It doesn't matter the business. I mean, the point is trying to get to export off the island is difficult, regardless of what it is.
But as a senator, you got to talk to your shipping companies. But I'm going to tell you what we're doing. Wait, hold up, because as a senator, I can't control the shipping. You understand what I'm saying? And what we're looking at is Vialco, the old Martin Marietta. They already have a shipping port. Have you ever heard of the Jones Act?
Yes.
Okay, that helps with the tariffs and the charges that are required when you're shipping in and out. You can fly different flags, and there is no charge for that. So we're going to be utilizing the Jones Act tremendously. As far as your business and any other business out there, you got to see what your model is. You can't just jump into the pot and say, "Yeah, you got to see what your model is to be able to use the different benefits that there is."
Okay, I'm going to tell you, I used to work for the post office several years ago, and at that time, we used to have several different other air companies here that flew out. Other than we had 4-star, we had several other air freight companies. Even Bob Lynch used to have a plane that came in here at least several times a week, if not several times a day, for air freight. Today we have none.
Okay,
that has nothing to do with my business model. We just don't have any.
Okay, why?
Well, that's why I want to find out. So
you're asking me?
Yeah, because I mean, why is it now that any business? That's
Uh-huh.
what I'm saying. Because you're
All
saying
right.
you're bringing in businesses
Exactly.
here
Okay.
to go and ship out.
Right.
And I'm telling you, and not only my business, but there's other different manufacturers and other different businesses that when they have to ship out, it's difficult, especially if you cannot use the postal service.
Or UPS?
If you're talking,
No UPS?
because if UPS over a certain weight turns into a boat that has to wait. I'm
Right.
telling you because I went through that.
Okay.
So I'm asking again, so how is it that you're going to make it easier?
What you're talking about as far as the senator's role to make your shipping easier?
Not my shipping, businesses.
The business shipping easier? I think we have to look at the overall picture of to why did they leave? Is it that they're not making money here? Is it that there's not enough business to support that type of industry? You know, when you look at problems, you have to look at it holistically. You can't just look at it at a pigeon toe. You know, we don't have. There's a whole bunch of things connected to that. Like I'm not gonna run off on a tangent, but as far as the shipping goes and increasing that, all I can tell you is that when we start to bring people in and businesses in and increase our economy, then maybe we'll have much more people willing to do that, because that's a private industry. Someone has to say, okay, I'm going to make money and we're going to make returns on going to St. Croix and shipping things back and forth. If you don't see a profit in that, I don't care how much you sit down and want it to be done. It's not going to be done unless you do it yourself.
Okay, just know that
That's
these
what I'm saying.
businesses stopped way before Hovenza closed down, or way before there was even an inkling of Hovenza leaving.
Sweetie, let me tell you
But,
something.
sweetie, excuse me?
Excuse me, host. Let me tell you something.
Oh, Father.
Long before Hovenza closed down, this economy has been crashing and going down in the tubes. Okay, so long before there's been businesses closing before Hovenza closed down. As a matter of fact, we had the 8% cut, we had the whole government rolled back, we had a government fire before Hovenza closed down. So, you know.
I want to move on to some other areas.
Yeah.
To give you some opportunity. Crime. I want you to talk to me about what is your general plans for purposes of curtailing, as you can do it, to deal with our crime problem.
Well, as far as the current situation that we have now with the rise in crime, that's a direct reflection of a crashing economy. That's a direct reflection of no jobs. That's a direct reflection of no opportunities for our young people. That's a direct reflection of the school systems failing.
And so what
Okay.
would be your plan to deal with that issue?
Create the jobs, create the incentives, look at our school system. One of our biggest problems with our school system is that the budget is lopsided. You have 70% going to administration, the next 30% going to school, building and books and blah, blah, blah. And you can see that. You can see the result when you drive around. It looks like, you know, when you say that's such and such school, it looks like, do people go to that building? Is that structure really sound to hold people in it? I don't know if you know.
But
But
would you support the transfer of more power to the Board of Election? I'm sorry. I don't like
Education.
Board of Education, and remove some of that authority from the Department of Education.
Most definitely. When you look, like I said, when you look at the models that's being used in America, the mainland, that is exactly how it's structured. The Board of Education is really the one that governs the school. They go in and they have the power. And as far as the board go, they're responsible for hiring and firing. You know, you got to go through different processes and whatnot. So it has to be a division in order so there could be some sort of accountability. Because if you saw what just happened the other day with them taking each other to court, you know, there's no accountability. There's no one saying, okay, this particular entity has the power to do this, and this particular, there's nothing there. We just have boards.
So the commissioner would be appointed by the board rather than by the governor.
No.
No,
No.
the superintendent.
Yeah, right,
The superintendent operates the school.
That's what I meant to say. Thank you.
Right.
Let me ask my question quick. Legalization of marijuana, for or against?
Well, I'm going to tell you what. In decisions that impact the community, such as decision to legalize marijuana or not, I'm not either for or against, because I believe that the people should choose what they want. They chose in a referendum in 2012 to legalize hemp and go forward with that. They chose almost 10 to 11 years ago to reduce the Senate. That went out the window because it was a non-binding agreement. I think that the people has a pulse. And as your leader, you got to feel that pulse and work with what the community is asking for. You may agree on it, he may not. But if we go to the polls and that's what the consensus is of the group, then that's what we need to go
But
with.
democratic leadership, the people then put their power, they vest that power in the 15 senators. Yes, I understand the referendum issue, but at times you have to vote. So it was, if you were going to vote on the floor, would you vote for legalize marijuana, decriminalize it, or not? Or you would abstain?
Well, that vote will be coming with a referendum that was passed. You understand? And if that's what the people want, then I'm voting up for it. If the people don't want it, then I'm voting down for it. My voice is the people's voice, and you can't break that, and you will never break that. That's what I'm going to the Senate to do. Represent the people of this island.
Okay, so then if the people vote for it, then he's voting yes.
Absolutely. Okay.
So
just like they voted to reduce the Senate, what do you think I'm going to do there when I go in there first? One of the very first thing we're going to do is bring back that referendum, make it binding, and run it through again.
To reduce the Senate.
Bring back the referendum or bring a vote on the Senate floor.
On the Senate floor, but you still have to make it binding. You still have to make it binding.
No, the people said through a non-binding referendum, they would like a reduced legislature.
Correct.
So why do we need to go back to a referendum? Why don't you now say, I have the good attorney said we have precedents. Would that be the first?
Well, let me just say that the legislature of the Virgin Islands has no authority to reduce the legislature.
Okay, see?
So,
Okay,
the only authority for that is the Congress of the United States of America.
Okay, we go
and
there.
so you can write to them and ask them, look, the people want us to reduce, can you please amend the revised Organic Act to reduce the Senate for us? That's all that can be done.
Well,
I think we gotta be very careful because people think
But
that
somebody has to do that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying gotta be careful because a lot of people think simply because they say I want the Senate reduced and they vote for it that it's going to happen because the senators are going to do it, and that's not how it works. And it's a lot of work to revise our Organic Act because trust me, Congress ain't paying us any attention about that issue right now. We have bigger fish to fry.
And there's a lot of work to deal with the Constitution. There's a lot of work to do a lot of things, and maybe that's why we ain't
But
seen
But let me
nothing
ask
really
let me ask this question.
Okay,
Do you honestly believe that the answer to our problems is a reduced Senate?
No, I think our answer to our problems is to restructure our government.
Okay.
I think there's no accountability. I think that there's a lot of wasteful spending that goes on in positions that are absolutely useless. I think that the way that the governor has complete control over everything, I think that has to be changed.
No.
But don't
The government don't have complete control. The Senate is afraid to lead.
Exactly.
They have powers vested in
It's
them.
called checks and balance, and they're not
Exactly.
checking.
Let me give you a good
I
example.
agree with that.
Good example. PFA is on the floor today. PFA doesn't bring certain information. What do? Continue to talk to them and entertain them? Don't
Right.
you say, hey, meeting done, are we adjourned for a moment? You go and get the paper, come back.
If not, you're in contempt.
Exactly. And you know what I've
Well,
noticed?
if you subpoena them,
Right.
the problem is that they have all these meetings,
And you're a lawyer,
and
so-
nobody subpoenas
But
them. and do
nobody.
anything.
And you know what? You can bring the governor to court. You can subpoena these people. I know if they don't come, guess what you can do? You can have them arrested and send them to
So
jail.
when do we stop having a feel-good legislature and start having a good leaders that are going to lead and utilize the power that are vested in their office?
Let me answer that for
Wait,
you.
wait.
When the people vote them in.
Yay!
Okay.
When the damn people vote them in. Period. Come on, you can't blame them for not
when the
doing
people
nothing.
vote them in.
keep
We're
getting
not
voted in.
voting in the people.
Tell us,
Right?
Yeah, right.
why should
Okay.
I believe that use that type of senator, use that type of
That's the question we should ask.
Okay, well, number one of your major questions that you ask all your senators, you're asking me, God bless you, thank you, is that what have you been doing in this community? For the past 2 years, I ran the last time, and instead of dipping away, living in other islands, living away, I've been right here bringing businesses and industries here to change this direction. There's not one single candidate in your senatorial, gubernatorial, or congressional that can tell you that. There's nobody that's done anything to change the economy of this island. None. All right? Number 11 on your ballot. If you want change, press it and change the place.
Did we talk about energy? Did we actually about energy?
Let's go with energy.
Okay, tell me. What about the
You got a little
energy?
fan over there.
I know you got a whole bunch of people there. The energy issues. What are your plans to deal with our energy crisis?
It's simple, brother. It's simple. Write this down, Colin. We need to build a new power plant. We need to build a new power plant. That is a no-brainer. Our power plant has been sitting there since the 60s, and we're still using the same generators, the same types of fuel, and we expect a different result. Let's get real, people. We need to put this thing on the South Shore. We need to utilize solar and wind technologies that are preposterous, make our grid capable of utilizing much more than what Hugo Hodge is saying. The reason why they can't do it is because the thing is old. The part, you bring the power and boom, you blow a generator,
So
you
where we gonna
blow
get the money to do
something.
that? Where we gonna get the money
We're
to
gonna
do
get the money
that,
to do that.
right?
We have companies that are coming in that are, number one, did you hear what I'm saying? We're manufacturing solar and wind turbines here. That means that being here, those products will be cheap a third of the price of what you get at
We
any
had
place
oil,
else.
how Vincent was here and the oil still wasn't cheap.
No, don't lie. No, you're lying. Because the
what?
gas here on
I'm
St.
what?
Croix, you're not telling the
what?
truth. The gas here on St.
We
Croix
had
was
Hovensa
cheaper than
here
Hess
and Leac
and
and
cheaper than in the
everything still
States.
went
And I'm
up
telling you.
high.
Who been
hold on.
Leac and Hess don't have nothing to do with each other, man.
Who they were buying the oil from?
It don't
Who
matter.
they were buying the oil from?
It don't matter.
Who they were buying the oil from?
So, the issues that you're saying is that for purpose of dealing with the energy crisis is for you to have a new power plant.
Absolutely.
And I think I agree with you. We can't have an old power plant and expect new things from it.
No, that's
And
impossible.
so,
But
now,
the question is,
like
where
they're
the money
going to be
come from?
tearing down
How are we
Shabbat,
going
they're
to-
going to build wonderful things at Shabbat next
This
to
is new. This new.
Where are we going to
WAPA.
pay for it?
Right.
Yes.
Where we gonna get the funds to build
The
it?
USCDA has funds.
Well, not just that, but there's a lot of federal funds and grants that will enable for territories.
Okay.
For the territories, Guam, here, that will allow us to refurbish our power plants. I can't even tell you why they're not going for it. I told you this since
That's
the
a good question.
But I'm hoping,
Why they're not
I'm
going
hoping
for
that
it?
you just misspoke and
That's
said
correct.
refurbish.
No, rebuild, my friend.
Rebuild or
Thank you.
whatever.
I build a totally
Well, that's
new
what our
one.
delegate would have been involved in.
Yes, that's what I'm telling. Yes,
Right.
So making sure we get those
Get the
dollars.
funds to do that.
Well,
Okay.
actually, it's the departments that have to go and apply for it, and if the departments are not applying for it, there's very little that the delegate can do.
No,
Yeah,
but
but
remember the
that's
delegate the last
is.
time. Remember the delegate the last time had a workshop and grant money, what was
And-
available,
right.
and teaching the local
Right.
people how to access those
Right,
grant
and
funding.
have
There's
you
no-
heard WAPA gone and asked for any funds from the USCDA even after that workshop?
But again, leadership at times don't just. Leadership at times is persistent. Keep working at it because it benefits your constituents. So if WAPA doesn't act, then you keep being persistent.
But in all fairness, there were other agencies that did go to USCDA to get funds.
Okay,
under
so
the
when the
Capital
two are around, then we'll have you on the show. So, Mr. LaCorbiniere,
Yes,
let the people know where we can find you if they have more questions for
I like
you,
this,
so
yeah.
that they can get a little bit more information about your plans. Because we only had like 20 minutes, so
Yes,
we'll get everything
yes,
in.
yes.
But so they can ask you more questions.
You can go to Facebook, Committee to Elect Eugene LaCorbiniere. You can go to that page. It has my platform.
Spell your last name.
LACOR. It should pop up. BINIERE. I also have a lot of my stuff, the videos that I've been working on, bringing the companies here. So you can actually go to that. You can log on. I have YouTube videos that shows you what I've been doing in this community. The kind of professionalism and the kind of work that you need to look for, not just in myself, but in all your candidates. You know, we're gonna have a team of 7, and if you know, we put a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So the team has to be made up of people who can actually work for the betterment of St. Croix. Go in there and battle the fact that St. Thomas has 7 senators as well, and then you have the St. John and St. Thomas district with a floating senator, you know, the senator at large. So that's why we don't really get a lot of stuff done in that Senate. We're actually lopsided. We need to restructure the way things go so that St. Croix can prosper and get what is deserving for St. Croix.
Mr. LaCorbiniere, I thank you so much for coming on
Thank
the show
you.
tonight. I really appreciate you being
Thank you,
here.
my friend. Thank you.
Thank
you, ma'am.
We want to make sure that you all have your voices heard and that you understand what's going on and be informed about the things that are going on in your community, because that's how you make good decisions, when you are informed. And I urge you to go out and look at these candidates, ask them questions. Any candidate who doesn't want to answer your questions is a candidate not worthy of your vote. And so stop them, ask them, let them understand what your issues are so that they can answer them. Ask them what their plans are. Be sure that they're able to explain to you what their plans are and that you understand what it is that they're doing before you run out there and vote. And the key in this election for 2014, as critical as it is for you to be informed of all the issues, informed of what everybody who's asking for your vote is saying to you. And those who are afraid to tell you, then probably those are not the people you need to vote for. So make sure your voices are heard. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.